come up with that dog shit pick. What the fuck were we thinking? What the fuck were you thinking? Hello. Welcome, folks, to another nice little impromptu episode of the Jimnasium. As always, it is me, XFL Jim. Let's fucking go! I'm joined by the man himself, Chase Sessoms, a.k.a. the Wolf of Oaklawn. What's up, everybody? How we doing, Chase? These episodes, it's been so long since we've had like a nice sit-down, just you and me. It's always nice. I like that we spread them out. Yeah. It's a good time.
It's a good reset button, and I feel like there's like no pressure to it, and like we're both doing this like whenever we're in a really good mood and ready to do it, and it's always really fun. So I'm glad we do this. It's cheaper than therapy.
Damn right it is. We're coming loud, proud, and fast in your face. This is the bracket season beginning, where we are ranking. Well, not ranking. It's a tournament of the best cities in America to lose your life.
The best cities to lose your life in. I was explaining to Jim before we started. One, I want to say this is my favorite bracket that you have ever created, and the movie one was a banger. Like the movie one was good, hard to top. The second thing I would like to say is, as someone who like takes pride in knowing all the, like the little like inside like hood gangster stuff, like I feel like this is like the bracket for me to shine.
You will probably be holding up this bracket pretty heavily. Also, extensively as a man who's traveled like a decent amount.
To shitty places. To a lot of just shitty places, yeah.
So let's start it. There's a couple play-ins. I only did 20, so I got these from a list of top like 20 most dangerous cities in the U.S. They are in no particular order. I randomized them. So our first play-in is Milwaukee, Wisconsin versus St. Louis, Missouri. I feel like that's a landslide, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a landslide for St. Louis. It's got to be. That is a dangerous ass city. I've gotten to see it get like more dangerous from when I was like a kid going to Cardinals games to like where you could walk around like downtown and there was like a little like mall and restaurants and stuff, and now it's just like abandoned except for a Discovery Channel store and a Landry Seafood.
So I went there last year for the UFL Championship game. I'm going to go there again for the UFL Championship game this season. And while I wasn't exposed to like a dangerous aspect of it, there is like a good section of downtown that's just boarded up.
Yeah. There like the downtown is completely dead. And like, you know, as someone who gets other cities feeds in my Reddit, I get to see posts all the time of like just kids with big fucking guns in St. Louis and like armed robberies in St. Louis. It's a win for St. Louis.
Definitely. Next up we have Chattanooga, Tennessee versus Denver, Colorado.
I'm very interested in Chattanooga, Tennessee as a sleeper here, as a smaller town, though I don't know very much about Chattanooga. I've heard some good rap out of Chattanooga, so that bodes well. I can't remember the last time I heard good rap out of Denver, though.
I think another way to describe how dangerous the city is how good is the rap.
And can they cook a pig? Like, can you drive through the city and say, all right, these people know how to cook a pig?
And could I see a UFL team there?
Yeah, totally. Because
I could see one in Chattanooga.
Sides. Yeah.
I think we're going to give it to Chattanooga here.
Chattanooga.
Next play-in is Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Cleveland, Ohio. Surprised to see Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach. It was a nice, showing up, but it's Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, it's Cleveland with a bullet. Any more play-ins? Minneapolis and Memphis.
Memphis is the little team that could.
Easily. So we'll work our way back up the list. It's Memphis versus Houston.
That's actually a tough one.
That's a good matchup.
So what Houston has going for it is it's gigantic, right?
Yes.
what Memphis has going for it is like literally like the hub of the United States. You have I-55 running from New Orleans to Chicago. You have I-40 running from California all the way through to the Carolinas. And so like I feel like more dirt comes through Memphis, even though Houston has a port. And so with more dirt equals more gunfire and human tragedy, like we're handicapping here. So I'm gonna go Memphis.
So like you're saying, Houston has the that there's just so many people. You're bound to have more like criminals. You're bound to have more like just violence in general, just at scale. But I feel like on a per capita basis, it's hard to beat a city like Memphis. And the other criteria that we were talking about, the ability, like the barbecue of Memphis is crazy. The music scene in Memphis is insane. And I think that gives Memphis, Tennessee the bump here. Now, I'm going to be nice. We're going to wait for Chase to get back. There he is.
Yeah.
Didn't miss anything. We're on this one's got to be, this is actually an interesting matchup. San Francisco and Dayton, Ohio.
So you have like OG opioid epidemic versus like San Francisco, which has always had,
which is like poop on the ground.
Problems. Yeah. It's always had its like problems. Like it's got its stuff, but still. I mean, you had an NFL player robbed at gunpoint and shot. Like
yes.
In other cities where it's violent, that doesn't necessarily happen to like in like downtown. I think Ohio is a shit state and shit place to be, but I think you might have to give San Francisco the nod here because you got Oakland right across.
I was gonna say but there's a separation between San Francisco and the rest of the Bay Area.
That's true, but like it spills over.
It does. I was going to say, if this was like the whole Bay Area, because there was one time I was waiting at a Greyhound bus in Oakland to take me back to LA at like 3 a.m. Yeah.
That's got to be.
I was like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why I'm here.
All I know is I do not belong here.
That was like, I just shouldn't be here. We're going to give it to San Francisco. It's definitely probably, I don't know if it's probably, there's more shit per capita in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Detroit, Michigan, or Portland, Oregon?
Listen, Detroit is better, but Detroit's going to go really far in this thing. And I think if the bracket were arranged differently, you could see Detroit win this thing probably. But after watching extensive documentaries about, they like cut off people's heads in Detroit over drug beefs. They don't just like shoot people.
Yeah, Detroit's like Syria.
Yeah, R.I.P. Maserati Rick. Let's go Detroit.
On the cleanup, though. Detroit on the cleanup.
No more best friends gang. No more Chambers brothers who actually came from Arkansas to run Detroit. No big deal.
A very interesting matchup here. New Orleans versus Cleveland.
Cleveland's a pretty violent place, but it's New Orleans without a doubt.
I was going to say, it's like everything I hear about the two things I hear about New Orleans is number one, the food. Like, out of this world good. And then number two, watch out.
Yeah. Because, there are people there who have made, like, their lives, like, hustling, like, stealing and shit like that. And, like, hey, man, all it takes is one robbery to go bad and you're a murderer.
Yep.
Just saying.
Doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much.
Chattanooga versus Birmingham, Alabama. I feel like this is where Chattanooga falls.
Birmingham, Alabama might actually make a very deep run in this one. This is, like, a rookie ball team playing against the fucking Yankees. Like Birmingham they don't fuck around. Birmingham is the winner.
See, the thing with Birmingham is, and you're 100% right, because I looked it up and everything. I never think of Birmingham as like a dangerous city, but then you look into it, holy shit.
I've driven, so I haven't spent extensive time there, but I've driven through Birmingham a lot, like on Highway 78 through like Mississippi into like Georgia, like towards like Atlanta and everything. And like on 78, you have to like stop at lights and like turn and shit through Birmingham. And boy, like that, it's like fucking Gaza. Like, because especially one of the times I was there, because they had like a fucking mile-wide tornado come through, so it literally looked like Gaza.
Speaking of which, just as an aside, how is Gary, Indiana not on this list?
I don't think enough people live there.
You're probably right. It's probably not big enough.
I understand it's per capita, but I feel like there's just like nobody there anymore.
Yeah, you're probably right. Springfield, Missouri versus Philadelphia.
Philly, incredibly violent.
Very. You see it with their sports teams.
Yeah, dude.
It's got to be Philly. Good run, Springfield. Kansas City versus Salt Lake City. I feel like this is a no-brainer.
Baltimore has to be on the. Is Baltimore on the other side of the bracket?
No, there is no Baltimore on. There was no Baltimore on this list that I took these names from.
As someone who just spent like a couple of days straight watching Homicide: Life in the Street, I'm shocked.
I was shocked by no Baltimore. I was shocked by no DC.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be Kansas City in this matchup, though.
Oh, dude. I mean, for one, Kansas City has its own like inner city issues and everything. Number two, you have to consider that Kansas City was the like central hub for Italian organized crime. What we have in America, an Italian version of what many know as the Japanese Yakuza, the mafia. I want you to laugh that I remembered that joke.
I love that you remembered that. I was, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, he's going for it.
But like traditionally, that's where like mob boss, and so it's very like very like mobbed up city. So like you have like that danger, and then you also have like good fellows whacking each other.
You have you have just like generational crime, and just deep roots. Every time I've been to KC, like when we go out to the bars or whatever, there's like I see a minimum of like 15 cop cars every time.
Yeah, they don't F around.
Here's a fucking matchup: Little Rock, Arkansas versus St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis might win because of size, but I think if we look at it per capita, I think like we're a more violent place than St. Louis. It's very cyclical for us in Little Rock. Like what happens is like the gangbangers go to jail, it drops off for 10 years, they get out of jail for like either petty shit, second degree murder, attempted murder, or whatever, and then it pops off again. We're in a very dangerous cycle. Are we talking to body work, or are we talking how the team is playing right now?
Oh, this is a tournament. This is, if you're hot, you're hot.
I go Little Rock.
Okay, I'll defer to your judgment. You are the expert here when it comes to Little Rock. Okay, now we have Little Rock versus Kansas City.
Now that it sucks that Little Rock's run ends, but I feel duly respected. It's Kansas City for the mobbed up thing. Like we don't have that. Like we do have like legit street crime though.
No, crime is in Kansas City's like bones.
Yeah.
Then we got Philly versus Birmingham. It's great.
Man.
That's a great matchup.
That's a barn burner. That's like a double OT murder barn burner.
A rematch of the 2022 USFL Championship.
When we see this, like it is very apparent that they are literally doing this by murder rate at this point, right?
It feels that way. It does. Like maybe San Antonio's not there on the list.
So Philadelphia is very violent and very tough, but so is Birmingham, and the difference is like you don't hear about it. Like, I was just telling Jim, like they arrested this guy and like his cousin a couple weeks ago, and that took care of like 12 unsolved murders. And like not only that, like I feel like I don't hear like it's more like organized in Philly. I feel like it's the wild fucking West in Birmingham. Like you hear more about like a bunch of people getting shot in a crowd, like at a party sort of thing in Birmingham.
This is a tough one. I think I'm going to give it to Birmingham, though.
And some of those like shootings and stuff were like downtown. They were at like a hookah bar downtown.
Normal shit.
Yeah.
Shout NASCAR in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, man.
New Orleans versus Detroit. What a matchup.
This might be the best matchup. And you know, like I really do believe that it just means more, but I think Big Ten country might have it here. Because there was a period where the biggest and the baddest from the South all moved up to Detroit, and that's when they really got heavily into the cocaine and the crack business. So, like, you got to think, like, It's their bad boys plus they import bad boys.
I also think that New Orleans has like the safety benefit of like it is a tourist destination as well, so they're want to like keep parts of it
Yeah.
not murdery.
Yeah, whereas you get off the plane in Detroit and it's welcome to Detroit, bitch.
Like, who's going to Detroit? Like, maybe me. Me and Uncle Rico actually might go for a UFL game. I don't know yet, but who's really going to Detroit?
I think it's Detroit. You pick New Orleans.
Oh, damn it. Let's see if I can. Boom. Boom. There we go.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I think Detroit's a little bit of a destination for vinyl collectors.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Lovers of Motown.
Yeah.
San Francisco versus Memphis.
It's not a question.
It's not a question at all.
Get rid of those San Francisco queers.
I feel like Memphis has to be the heavy favorite because they were the first team that like sparked the phrase from you. That was the first city.
That's true. That is true.
Okay, now we have Memphis versus Detroit here.
That's hard. Detroit might actually win this because once again, you're taking like the cream of the bad boy crop. You've had a couple generations of that. Memphis, I think, is wilder, like on a different scale. You have, I think, more people who are like prone to just like murder over small shit, whereas like Detroit, it feels very much more business-like.
Yeah, I feel like Memphis is everyone hanging on by a thread, where like any slight can turn into like a war zone.
Like, I would feel very worried about getting like robbed at gunpoint in Detroit, like being in the wrong place. I would feel worried about catching a stray or like some sort of like mass thing jumping off in Memphis because it is like a party destination too. And so I guess it does, which I mean, bad boys like to party. So
I think that gives it to Memphis.
I'm going to give it to Memphis. It goes to Memphis. It's amazing.
What a run. What a run for it just means more.
It just means
more.
And
then it's Birmingham, Kansas City. I think I'm going to predict what Chase is going to say. He's going to say, we're going to talk about the old blood, the deep-seated crime in Kansas City, Missouri, versus the absolute insanity that you see out of Birmingham. This is a tough one. If we go by food, I'm also probably going Kansas City because the food there kind of bumps it up. I think this is where Birmingham's run comes to an end. I think we give it to Kansas City, Missouri here. And I will wait for Chase to come back because it's our championship matchup here. It's our championship game. We can't not have the man himself. The inventor of the phrase, a great place to lose your life. He's back. I don't know who'd you picked over Kansas City versus Birmingham.
I probably would have gone Birmingham, but I think you have to respect the pedigree of Kansas City.
I think they earned their way to the championship. So it's Kansas City, Missouri versus Memphis, Tennessee, an all-time matchup.
Now, Memphis also has that mob flavor too, because like I mentioned, they're at the crux of everything in terms of like all the dirt that gets shipped through the United States.
They got the old school like bootlegger energy too.
They do. Once again, like I don't feel like there's a place where you can there are places where you can necessarily feel safe, and there are great parts of like Kansas City.
Oh, but both these places, there are places where you can feel comfortable.
Like where like the FedEx exec lives, but like that's really not that far from like around the hood. I'm gonna go Memphis.
I do feel like Memphis, you're always like a couple blocks away.
Yeah.
While in Kansas City, there are huge swaths of neighborhoods that just feel very hipstery.
That makes sense too. You've got like craft breweries, and you've got like a soccer stadium, and it's Memphis. It's
Memphis all day. It was Memphis all day. What a tournament for Memphis.
They
You're
took down
champions.
some heavy hitters on the way.
Yeah, the path for Memphis, because they were a play-in team, so they took down Minneapolis, Houston, San Francisco, Detroit, and Kansas City. You can't call that a phony run. You can't call that.
The championship was theirs once they beat Detroit in the final.
Detroit was the big one.
It was a formality at that point. Just cut down the murder nets.
For the last couple, you could also make it like you could rank it on barbecue in the city.
All works. All of it works. You could. Those are all great cities for Dude, what is it? All right, so there's a correlation.
I don't know. I don't know if you've seen Detroit barbecue.
The only thing I know about Detroit is the Little Caesars pizza, and I know they have a weird accent that's somewhere between Wisconsin and Chicago.
Yeah, I just feel like maybe there is a correlation between good barbecue and dangerous.
And murder, yeah.
Okay, you know what? I was 100% wrong. I looked up a barbecue like Detroit, and this is the picture that came up, and like now I want this guy's barbecue. Like that guy knows barbecue.
Dude, Detroit's got deep Southern roots. Like
you see the belly, like you see it. Yeah. That's good barbecue.
Yeah, the aw shucks smile of
Yep.
like I just stand behind a fucking smoker all day and make this tender, juicy meat with love for you with this delicious sauce that I'm not going to tell you the fucking recipe to.
You think they might apply it with a mop?
They 100%, and the mop has not. They have not changed the head on that mop since 1976.
It's coated in like barbecue flavor juices.
It just sits in a bucket that somehow has not been refilled since 1976. It just regenerates.
It's great.
And it's delicious. I love you, Jim.
Chase, this was a great episode. I had fun. I hope everyone out there watching, listening had fun. Can't wait to do it again sometime. Great bracket season. Shout out Memphis, Tennessee.
Shout out Memphis, Tennessee. R.I.P. Young Dolph. Fuck you, Yo Gotti. What's up, Glorilla?